when you are misleading Kenyans, we need to jump
Is
in.
Is he misleading Kenyans?
No, for Matangi to come so early in the morning and try to insinuate that it is good to keep borrowing. The Mombasa highway is basically another SGR. And you saw, and Nation newspaper reported it, NTV reported it, that the engineers just alone at the ministry inflated it by about 1 billion shillings, 800 and something million. That is why the World Bank stopped it. So you don't lie about our donors.
Well, you're factually wrong, but proceed. I'll have my time to correct you, but proceed.
No, you can't correct me because you probably are a beneficiary, a chairman of a committee. Well, what I'm just saying, and I want to put him to test to that. We are in a mess. I don't like Donald Trump, but for this, I would vote for him. Just try to redirect us because the country is messy. We have no direction, no proper economic policy. We are over borrowing. When we are challenged about debt ceiling, we increase the debt ceiling to 9 trillion. We are playing with people's lives because the debt you borrow must be paid by somebody. It's going to be paid. Let me tell you, there's nothing for free.
Is it in order for the U.S. to tell us how much debt is too much debt?
Very much in order. The U.S. is the world leader, and I think any fool must understand that. The world leader. They happen to have a wrong president, a rogue president. But the U.S. is, if you read international politics, they were constructed. They have never colonized anybody per se. They just want good for the world. And that is why if you look at what they are doing today to Trump, even him is backing off because it is not good for the world. You may be mediocre and think the Kenyan way. That is also fine because we must all live in the same universe. Good people, bad people, and everybody. But the thing is, when you come to what they are telling us, we can't use Wamatangi argument. It is not right that they don't have the moral authority. Two wrongs never make a right. He must defend our position. Are we right to take SGR from Nairobi, from a stolen piece of land, just because it has to go through the only park in the city in the world to Suswa? And the president talks like that. What is the economic benefit? I thought that is the role of the presidency. When Uhuru was talking last week, he should have been talking about the just mere economic benefit of the SGR from Nairobi to Suswa. What is it? Please just tell us. What are you imagining? Why are you committing us? And let me tell Wamatangi, I can bet that the Senate, where they sit, will allow Uhuru to borrow 9 trillion away from the 1.2 trillion where Kibaki left us. And remember, Kibaki reversed our debt. We even had a balanced budget. So when you see across the world, people are standing up. For me, who is now an ordinary citizen, I must appeal to Kenyans to stand up to this nonsense. Yeah. You see the evictions in Mau being forceful without ideas. When you see the forceful transportation of our goods from the port of Mombasa, but you know that Kenyans must stand. And let me just say my second last thing, that the people who are not in the city of Mombasa, led by the MP from Vita, namely people in the Kamba region, if you don't react, you are going to be the poorest Kenyan because SGR has killed all your towns. And nobody's listening because SGR was crafted and constructed for thievery. and the thieves are walking. The thieves, Wamatangi does not want to be stopped from going across the world. You stop them. The money they have stashed away, stop it.
Okay.
I am so happy. But I wanted to just lastly say that please, Uhuru, I know you're not watching because you said you don't watch news. Just reset to the Kibaki period. Kibaki is alive. Please ask him, how do I do this? Because I don't think Uhuru has an idea.
Wow. Senator Chariot, will you speak in defense of your party leader?
Well, on things that is right, I'll defend him. When he's wrong, I will say it, because I am first a representative of people before belonging to a political party. So all my interactions are first to advance the interest of the people of Kericho and Kenyans at large than that of my party.
All right.
There are two or three things that I'd wish to say. Number one is that Jakoyo needs to know one thing. An ambassador who's here does not represent the interest of our own interest. He represents the interest of their country. So much as many of the things that you said about the US ambassador are right, you must also fact check some of the assertions that he makes to ensure that it is true. For example, on this issue of Bechtel, I know this story very well because it's something that I had opportunity to look into detail on last parliament, because last parliament as a member of Omatangi's Committee on Transport, and this issue came before our committee. The truth, I don't know if the facts have changed now, but at that time, the Americans were insisting on this, actually, the model that the ambassador is speaking to, that we as a country finance the project just like we finance many of the other projects. But the government's position then, which I think is the right position, was that it be carried out in a PPP model, public-private partnership, where they'll use their money, they'll finance, then it will be paid for as a toll concession, maybe over a period of 20 or 30 years. That makes sense to me, and that is fine. That has been the deadlock, actually. And I think the ambassador was just being truthful, but not fully speaking out on the issues on this.
So he was being disingenuous?
Perhaps not exactly disingenuous, but he managed us, if I may put it that way. He didn't go exclusive to the details of why there has been disagreement on this particular road. On this issue of debt, Jakoyo, by standing orders, I'm bad not to speak. You know, last week I could speak exclusively about it because the matter had not, as a committee, we had not been seized of the matter. But now on Tuesday we began our deliberations as members of Senate Finance Committee on the regulations that have been proposed. I cannot go into the details because standing orders bar me from doing that, but I can assure you that your bet is wrong. Chances are we will not do it. Let me
approve debt up to 9 trillion.
Yeah, let me leave it at that. I do not want to be afoul of our own standing orders. Number 3, there's this particular story that you read for us about what is happening in the Mau, and about what the Narok County Commissioner said of this order for 60 days. It's something that leaves me very worried. Olive, I don't remember if it is you or one of your colleagues that did a story on the Mau.
My colleague, Zainab Ismail.
Oh, it was Zainab Ismail, yes, last week, about the issue of titles and all that. Kenya National Human Rights Commission decided to visit this particular region about 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, they were denied entry by Kenya Forest Service and the officers that are manning that particular place. They have actually sort of like put an embargo on either going in or out of a place that is habited by Kenyans. This is not a gazetted security operation area. One of the things that Kenya National Human Rights Commission shared with me is that they asked the regional commissioner, Mr. Natembea, to show them a copy of the order that they say they are enforcing. Unfortunately, he couldn't show. And the truth is that he couldn't show because there is none. These things that they are referring to are scare-mongering tactics that they are using on their citizens because they do not want to follow the law. They know by law you cannot show up on the seller's house and ask him Please
Okay.
disappear out of here.
I don't want to go too far off the topic before two other panelists contribute to it. We'll come back to that. Mheshimiwa Eseli, what do you make of the U.S. ambassador's remarks as far as drug lords are concerned, thievery is concerned, and Kenya's debt levels?
Well, first I would like to wish success to all those candidates of the national exams. The practicals are commencing today, all of them nationally and especially those of Tongaren constituency, because after Matiang'i's rules, now my schools have been sending more youngsters to colleges, not like before. So if they continue with that, then I expect this year I will even see better results because my teachers have been very hardworking. Now, on the U.S. issue, one, I have had a chance to have a session with the ambassador under leadership of my party leader. And this ambassador knows Kenya very well because he has been here before. In fact, he was made a Jurinjeke elder somewhere in Tharaka Nithi recently because that's where he functioned. He set up several charitable institutions there. So his coming back to Kenya is not new. He knows Kenya very well. So if it's a question of understanding what corruption is doing to this country, he understands it very well. And I think we've reached a point now, because as Jakoyo said, the USA has never been a colonial power per se. I think we've now reached a time when we want to work with countries like the USA as partners, rather than as colonial masters and things like that. But if we are going to be partners, then we have to be very forthright with what we are doing, so that we can work together. So I think what is putting across is very clear that our systems have failed. We are unable to control the drug lords in our country, so sometimes we seek their help. And as partners, they step in to help because those drug lords are also affecting the USA because some of those drugs end up there and Kenya is a transshipment country. So I think what he's saying is correct. So when they say that when he says that they will not be allowed into the USA, I'm sure they know who they are. They know who these people are, and that's why they will do that. If you talk about corruption, they probably know, because let's accept one thing, that the USA has very wide-reaching investigative abilities. Some of them go against our norms, but they are a country, they must protect themselves. So I think the issue of the expressway, I think Jakoyo was mistaking the Mombasa Road, the Deca Road. That one, early this year, World Bank had agreed to loan Kenya money to do that road. But Kenya was insisting on doing some things which were not good. So eventually World Bank pulled out, and now we quickly ran to the Chinese to do the double-decker road. And on a PPP, they will be paying tolls. Now, ask yourselves, why would Kenyans pay tolls for a road, and yet they're paying fuel levy? That comes to double taxation. Now, let's go to Mombasa Road. Definitely, when Bechtel stepped in and said they were going to do that road, I saw a red flag. Because Bechtel are very serious contractors, including military contractors for the USA. And sometimes in the developing world, Bechtel have never been above board in some of the things that they do. That's why we look at the cost of that expressway, which is not what Honorable Matangi is saying. What Honorable Matangi is saying that has got up to Mombasa, Machakos Junction and going on, is not an expressway. That's just a dual carriageway like any other. It's not part of the Bechtel thing. But that Bechtel thing, I think the ambassador is right to say they need to stop it. Because even if it's PPP, it's still debt. Even if it's PPP, it's still debt. Kenyans will have to pay. So I think the ambassador is right to say that kind of thing needs to be put on hold and relooked at. Because we have made a mistake before. When we did the SGR, we made a mistake. We had a meter gauge railway which already had way leaves, which did not need to be bought. Instead of just constructing the standard gauge railway by removing the meter gauge railway, we went and did a completely new line and expended a lot of money on compensation for land and things like those. I think the problem with us is when we are doing something, we always look for a place where we can make illicit money. We don't want to do things above board. So that's why we end up with this national debt, and the wealth of Kenya is now concentrated in very few hands. And that's dangerous for a developing country, because those people who are holding those amounts of money will control the politics. They'll determine who wins where. And that way, Kenya will be captive. And it has happened in Africa before. There's a family somewhere in the, I think, is it in West Africa? I don't know whether it's Benin or which country, where the president died and the son took over. And it was simple. They control the oil wealth, they have all the money, the rest of the people are impoverished, so they buy their way, they just pay the people to keep them happy. Like look at Kenya right now. Would you really explain why any Kenyans would be looking at Jubilee again after mishandling the country so badly? But because Kenyans are impoverished. So what happens is that whoever gives them goodies, whoever comes with harambes, whoever comes with money for this and that, even if it's government money, they come and say, okay, we are giving this school 4 million to build a laboratory. It's government money, all right. They clap. They don't know that's their right. And that's where we are heading. So I think if the Americans are able to help us, it will be worthwhile, because we don't want to help ourselves. Right now, what we are doing is wrong. What we should do right now is reduce taxes across the board, especially corporation tax. When you reduce corporation tax, more corporations will come in, you'll create employment. We've neglected agriculture completely. Yet that's a mainstay of our economy. We should invest in agriculture seriously, like as you mentioned earlier on, when I talked about the Coffee Research Institute. If you go there, you would cry.